Welcome everyone. Welcome to this first week of the New South Wales Small Business Month. I'm really glad to be here and to be able to present this to you. I really love doing these webinars, so hopefully we'll have some great tips to take away from here. Let me just bring my screen on here. I got Carmel. Hi, Carmel. Okay. There we go. So I'm going to read out some stuff just now. So I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet and pay my respect to the elders, past, present and future. I would like to extend that respect to the Aboriginal peoples present today. And I'm proud to be hosting this event as part of the 2023 New South Wales Small Business Programme in partnership with the New South Wales Government. I can see everyone start to come on screen just now in the comments. Thanks very much. We've got Sarah, Usha, Megan, Caramel again, Pruva, Dua, I hope I'm pronouncing these correct, Howard, Alia. Excellent. Great. Thanks for being here. Waiting for the connection. Yep, so I was going to give it a few minutes just so everyone can get online. Let me know if you can see me and hear me okay. Thumbs up. Yep, great. Thanks. Thanks, Kelly. Good morning. Good day, Philip. A little bit of a wet one today here in New South Wales, but hopefully it'll kick off later on. There might be a little bit of a delay. Hopefully everyone can see me. All good. ISS had to close and reconnect. Okay. Yep, I got a thumbs up from Dura. Great. Super. I think we'll start just now. So let's just bring up some slides. Okay, here we go. So a little bit to kick things off, a little bit about me. So I've been in business for myself since 2005. I run a successful WordPress consultancy business. I also author some online courses and run the WordPress Sydney and Elementor Australia meetup groups. And I'm currently Vice President of Linux Australia, which represents the whole open source community here in Australia. Before we get started, just a note that all the links that I mentioned within the presentation, I'm going to send you to one of the pages on my website, and that's going to have, excuse me, that's going to have the video replay. Eventually, when I put it online, it's going to have links to this presentation and links to all the things that I talk about in this presentation as well. So I'll give that to you at the end. Drop any questions that you have in the comments. I can see that people are having to refresh. That's a bit of a shame. I didn't mean that to happen. Hopefully you can see it just now. Dua says a thumbs up. Yeah, so Isla said it had to close and reconnect. So sorry about that. Refresh screen, got it now. I'll see if we can fix that for the next one. So thanks very much for letting me know you can see that now. I'm doing a little bit of different display here. I've got some vertical slides. I know most people have the horizontal slides, but I thought I'd go with a little bit of a vertical slide just now. So let me know at the end what you think about that particular format. Okay. So the importance of video for small business. I mean, I don't really need to say that much because you are here and you know how important video is for business, but it's even more so now. More people are consuming video. So when we talk about video, I'm talking about client Zoom meetings, I'm talking about product explainers or even in-house onboarding, all the way down to staff training. And video is important and video is everywhere. Now, according to a HubSpot survey, 96% of consumers increased their online video consumption year on year. And 9 out of 10 of them wanted to see more video and more brand value, as in video, from businesses. So in 2023, an average person was predicted to spend 100 minutes per day watching online videos. And that could be anywhere from cat memes all the way to webinars like this one. So there is a huge, huge market for video just now, and it's getting bigger and bigger. So if you haven't jumped on the video bandwagon just now, definitely it's one of the things that you probably should jump on straight away. So before we get into the tips and tricks, let's cover some video content fundamentals. Okay, so your video, wherever you're making, whether you're doing a project, a client project in Zoom, if you're doing a product explainer, anything, your video needs to have a clear purpose and objective for being created. Don't just create videos just for the sake of creating them. Make sure they have SMART goals. So that's SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based goals. And make sure that their target audience, that you understand them, that you know what they are, who they are, what their wants and desires are. It makes the video a lot easier to create and to outline if you know exactly who you're speaking to and why you are speaking to them. So at first, you make sure that you have a target goal for your video, and make sure that you know exactly who you are speaking to. Types of videos, there's lots of types of videos, so promotionals and ads. So these are videos driving content to a particular landing page on your website or a sales page. Educational how-to videos, that's providing step-by-step guidance or delving deeper into a specific topic. Testimonials and case studies, these are videos showing satisfied customers, success stories. So those are videos that build trust. And then entertainment and branding content, and that's content that might not directly promote a product or service, but enhances brand awareness through entertainment. So a list of important videos types there. Some basic video terminology. I'm not going to go into a deep dive, but this is some stuff that you should know if you're starting out into the video creation. So the first one is frame rate. So you might see terms banded around like 24 FPS, which means frames per second, or 60 FPS. Those are the two most popular. Cinematic is 24 frames per second FPS. So that's when you go to the cinema, you'll see that kind of smooth type of video to that. That's 24 frames per second, so that's quite low. So the frames per second just means how many pictures the movie rate is showing onto the screen in particular seconds. So 24 frames, 24 images per second. TV, so stuff that's produced for TV, that's usually around about the 60 frames per second. So that's really, it's a higher quality, it's sharper images for faster action for those. So that's frame rate. Resolution. Resolution is the number of pixels displayed on the video. You'll hear terms like 720p, 1080p, 4K. So that's the number of pixels up and down vertically. So when someone says 1080p, that really means that it's 1920 wide and 1080 pixels high, like that. So more pixels means better quality of an image, but it also means higher file size. So your resolution will be determined on what you are using for the video. So for example, you're not going to create a 4K video for a small thumbnail Facebook ad. That would be a bit overkill. So you need to have a good balance between those. Good quality, file size, and usability as well. The last one to look at is aspect ratio. So this was the numeric relation between the width and height of your video. Some common aspect ratios are the one you're watching just now, which is 16:9, which is widescreen. But there are other ratios out there like 1:1. So for example, Instagram, a lot of people will post Instagram as a square video, which is a 1:1 because the height and length is exactly the same for those. So frame rate, resolution, aspect ratio, you can dig more into those in your own time, but you need to have a basic understanding of what those are and how they affect the video when you're creating those videos. Okay, so what gives a video a professional wow look? So whether you're recording pre-recorded videos, maybe you're doing online courses, or maybe you're doing live streaming, there are several key aspects that take a video from amateur to professional. So here are my 10 tips to help make your videos look more professional and give them that bit of a wow factor. This is what you're here for anyway, isn't it? Okay, so number one is audio quality. And a lot of people, when I give this presentation, you can see their eyebrow go up. Why start with audio? But in general, people can forgive low quality video pictures, but audio must be crisp. Bad audio is going to turn away your viewers really, really quickly. Nobody wants to turn up the volume 3/4 of the way through to hear what you're saying, compete with the background hiss, the cars going past, and then just be scared out of their wits when the computer beeps loudly or makes another type of sound. So try your best to use an external mic. and so not a built-in webcam. They're kind of got rubbish audio, as well as earbuds. So the earbuds that come with your phone that have the little mic down here, they're usually really, really low quality. That's because they're given away free with the phone. So try and avoid using the inbuilt mics from laptops and earbuds. Investing in a good quality microphone is probably the best initial choice that's going to help you make really good business videos. So I have 3 microphones that I use regularly. Again, I'm going to share the links at the end of this talk. I didn't want to do a complete, this is an equipment webinar, but I just want to show you some important equipment and then get on to the rest of the tips. So the microphone that I am using right now is a Rode Podcaster USB. It's a broadcast quality dynamic mic. Now, there's 2 different types of external microphones you can get. This one is dynamic. So this one here I have attached to my desk with an arm, like this. And I've also got a windsock on here. The windsock's important for when you're speaking with things that make a popping sound, like P's and T's. If you don't have the windsock, then that can create a spike in the audio. It just doesn't sound very nice for people on the when they listen to it. So dynamic mics, they pick up sound which are directly aimed at them. So these are good for situations like this, where I am sitting in one place and I'm just kind of viewing at the camera and talking away, and I'm not moving around as much. I'm able to speak directly into the mic. If I veer off one side, can you hear how that changes the quality of the audio? So if, for example, I had a multi-screen presentation and I was looking at this screen over here and then turning to look at this screen over here, you see how the sound changes because I'm not talking directly into this mic. So if you are in that situation when you're having to move around, when you're having to do things, then that's when a condenser mic comes in. Now, condenser mics, they pick up sound in a 360-degree radius. So they're useful, I say, when you're moving around. My go-to one is this little Rode. It's a Rode NT Mini USB. So if I'm giving presentations where I have to move around, if I'm doing a code presentation, for example, I'm having to look at this monitor over here, then I'll use that little Rode NT USB one, and it captures the sound all around. For sound quality, dynamic mics are the best because you are speaking directly into them as I am just now, and you don't hear as much of the background noise. Now, I'm near Bankstown Airport, and I'm sure you might hear some planes flying over, but if I was to be broadcasting on this here, this is going to pick up dogs barking, people mowing outside, cars driving past, helicopters hovering, which always happens when you're doing a live presentation. So those are 2 different types, dynamic versus condenser. So depending on what your situation is, you can really enhance the quality by using that particular type of microphone. I've got a question here. Ian asks, what's the best editing software to cut clips together in advertising? I'm going to go into that a little bit later, so that is coming up. Right? Good question, so we'll get to that. Corey is asking, what about lapel microphones? That's a great question, and I'm just going to segue into that. So, what do you use if you're out and about and you want to talk to someone or walk around a stage? And so, great time for that question. So the one that I use, this one is the Samsung PXD1 wireless microphone. Have I got that here? I do. This little thing is a godsend. So you have the wireless part, which you clip onto your waist at the back. The lapel mic goes up here. It's got a little windsock on. It's always important if you've got a lapel mic that you've got a windsock on and you have it aimed out of your clothing. You don't want it rubbing up against your clothing because when you move, it's going to do that all the time, which you don't want. You can't get rid of that. You have to retake all your audio. And it's got a little USB dongle, which you just plug into your computer. There's no batteries in here, so it just powers itself. And this is fantastic for being able to walk around. So when I do my meetups, I'm always plugged into this. Just remember to switch it off if you go to the toilet beforehand, otherwise that's screen recording. But that's my go-to. This one is Samsung's go-to for that. So that's individual. If you're walking around for that, it's probably got about a 20-meter range, but relative maybe 10 or 15 meters, you're going to get really good crisp audio from that. It's around about $200. It runs off 2 AA batteries, so always have extra batteries in your go-to bag when you're going out. But this is the one that I use all the time, and I've had that for the last couple of years, and it's worked perfectly every time. If you're out and about with your smartphone, I would suggest purchasing some wireless lavalier microphones. So there's lots of different brands around. I don't have a particular brand that I like, but this comes with a little dongle that you put into your smartphone at the bottom. So you can choose USB-C, or if you've got older iPhones, I know the newer iPhones are going to have USB-C, but if you've got one of the iPhones, you can choose a particular socket for those. And usually come with two little lapel microphones here. Now, these are super handy. If you're out and about with your smartphone, make sure you have it exactly, out there so it's not rubbing against your clothing again. But this is great for capturing the audio. So you don't want to rely on the microphone in your camera. You want to always have a lapel microphone to get the crisp sound. But this is also ideal if you're interviewing people. These types of things come with the two sets. So you give one set to your interviewer, you're an interviewee, and then you sync them up with it's all done with Bluetooth for that. You just switch them on, you get little lights, and that is perfect for interviewing people. And I love to do that at conferences. So when I go to conferences, tech conferences, I'll sit down with someone for 5 minutes, and just chat away to them about, what they do and where they come from. And I'm getting lots of videos for those that I can then splice into my other videos, and do like an event annunciation or an event review and things like that. So those are really, really handy for those. But you definitely need to have an external microphone, and don't rely on your webcam or your kind of earbud microphones for those. Okay, so what gives videos a professional viral look? Let's just have a look. Some pro tips. Microphone positioning. Okay, so as well as having your external mics, the microphone position is very, very important. So if you watch people who are, on TV or giving big speeches, just have a look at where they're placing their microphone. And you see it's usually right up against the mouth. This is where you're going to get the best audio quality if you're talking directly into the mic. As we explored earlier, if you kind of look away from here, if you're moving around this and you don't have that particular mic, the dynamic mic, then your audio is going to suffer. Kelly is asking about can't find wireless lapel mic 3 transmitters. Any recommendations? Usually they do 2. If you're wanting to do more than 2, then you're probably going to need to get some hardware box out there. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but there's hardware boxes that allow you to connect 3 or 4 or 5 different microphones, and you can switch between them and then have that one box connected into your PC for the mixing. I'll see if I can find some links and post that onto the page at the end. So let's see. If you are doing presentations like this one, I would always recommend that you have some sort of monitor microphones. So I use this one, which is the Audio Technica studio headphones. They plug into the microphone here, so that I can actually hear, and I can adjust. I've got a volume on my mic here, so I can move up and down. So I can hear my voice in my ear, but I can also hear the external stuff. So, for example, if I had left the air conditioning on, then I'd be able to hear a buzzing that I might not hear if I've not got these headphones on. So if you're doing situations like this where audio quality is really, you want it exceptional and you want to cut out as much background noise, then I would suggest you invest in some of these. Obviously, it's going to depend on your situation. If you're out and about, you're probably not going to have these types of headphones on. Now, how do you connect the Samsung audio to the video? For this one here, the Samsung, you're basically recording through the same studio. So what I'm using just now, I'm using a bit of software called StreamYard. And StreamYard takes inputs from the computer. So here my camera is an input, my microphone is an input. When you connect the Samsung in, when you plug the dongle in, then when you click on audio, you'll see it comes up as an audio source at Samsung. So that's how that one particular works. Yes, it does it automatically, but you've got to select that particular source from that. So yeah, thanks for that question. Okay, number two tip is lighting. So natural lighting is always the best. If you're shooting inside or appearing live on camera, try to set up right next to the window. I've got a window right here, so it's the light, got natural light coming on my left-hand side. Don't have the window right behind you, or you'll appear as a big black shadowy figure and no one will be able to see you. You'll find even with natural light coming into the room, there's going to be some shadows that are cast on your face. It's just natural shadows coming from the opposite side of the room, for example. So having an additional light source, one or two additional light sources, that can help enhance the whole lighting area of the room. It can remove that kind of flatness that shadows bring. So if you have a permanent area where you plan to shoot videos, try to get a couple of stand lamps, like the ones pitched in here. You can rotate them in any direction, but in general, at a 45-degree angle is probably the best solution for you. Light rings, if you don't have a room for permanent stand lights, purchasing one or two little light rings is a great option. Now, most light rings allow you to choose the brightness, they allow you to choose different colors, they call it a mood for those, and they cost under $50 for a decent one. So at the moment, I'm in my studio, my office here. I don't have enough room for big stand lights here. So what I've got a little light ring like this one here. It's got a few little click buttons on it. So here I can turn it off. So I'm just relying on the natural light coming in from the window. You can see it's creating a shadow on my face here. So I've got a light ring right in front of me. If I switch that on, now you can see that those shadows are removed for there. So it's giving a nicer, cleaner look to the video, to the image. You can also choose different moods. So this is kind of a more amber mood for that one. This is kind of a more studio, and this is a more natural light for those. So these are really good at investing. As I say, you can see that if I got that switched off, it's a rather flat image. It's not bad, but it's rather flat. Just a little $50 ring can enhance that quality superb. If you want to get into a little bit fancier, these are called light wands, and they range from about $60 to about $260 for more professional ones, and they give that little bit of color into it. You've probably seen some professional YouTube channels where they go with the cyan and the orange or the pinks and the reds in the background, and it can really, really enhance the video quality. It can set that particular mood, and especially it can link with brand values as well. So that's something to consider. I've not went down that road just yet. I probably will at some point because I'm going to be gearing up to make more course videos. So I'll probably go with my brand colors are orange. So I'll probably go with a couple of ones that maybe got orange, maybe got a little bit of cyan as well, just to bring that enhancement, that brand into it. So you can see the big difference. Jessie agrees with that. She says, absolute difference in the quality, even with just a light ring. Okay, number 3, video equipment. So of course, this is all about producing professional videos that are going to wow your audience. So you should invest in a good quality camera. Now, I know we all carry 4K, 8K cameras, in our phones nowadays. And given the right setup, iPhones and Galaxies and Google Pixels can take some amazing videos. However, getting the audio source into a phone is pretty tricky unless you've got one of these little lavalier mics. For those, otherwise you're going to have to try and sync up the picture with the audio, which is always, a bit horrible. Also, some notes with phones, and this is from actual experience. And because you've got a phone here, then it's pretty easy for incoming text messages, little notifications to kind of pop up on the screen or to interfere with the audio, just to interrupt that whole thing. All it needs to say is, hey Google, hey Siri, and that's all it takes for the video to kind of stop and things to come up on screen. So there are issues around taking video with your smartphone. Just be aware of those. So trust me, I've tried that multiple times and it's always failed. So if you're thinking about videos, the minimum quality of video camera you should probably purchase is one that can capture 1080p, and that's called high definition. In reality, a 4K camera is probably a much better choice because you can usually step down to high definition as well. So here are some choices. I have used this one in the past. It wasn't mine. This is over $4,000 worth of equipment. This is at the high end. So if you're looking for really, really good external, high quality 4K studio broadcast quality videos, this is probably your go-to camera. It's a Canon XF450 camcorder, and this is pretty much what all the directors are using for these. When you're out and about, you'll see these Canon ones here. It's absolutely amazing. As I say, I've used one to shoot some videos. It wasn't mine, but this is way out of my budget to purchase. But if you are really serious about creating video for your business, then it's probably something to look towards to invest in. And again, all the links to this equipment I'll add to the links page afterwards. This is probably a reasonable choice. This is a digital SLR. This is a top-of-the-range Nikon. It's a Z7 mirrorless DSLR. Again, it's pricey. The body alone costs around about 4,000, but you can get cheaper DSLR cameras. I just chose the top-of-the-range one there that I could find, but certainly an option. The quality from these two cameras is exceptional. So when you marry that with the difference between a webcam like this one, that's just there's nothing to beat those. So those are definitely two things that are worthwhile looking at if you're looking to invest in really amazing cinematic, good quality, like broadcast quality videos. The next step down from that, so if you're looking for a more budget version, I would recommend this little thing. I don't know if they make them anymore in this particular format, but this is called a 4K Sony hand camera, and it's the FDR AX53. And this is fantastic. I use all my, when I'm at the meetups, when I'm doing events, this is what I have on a tripod, and I've got my, my wireless mic synced in with that. So I've been using this for about 3 years now. It's about $1,000. So again, not super cheap, but not as expensive as the others. Please note that if you are looking for camcorders, there's very few of this kind of range that offer an external microphone link. Sony is one of the few in this range. So you'll get Sony, you get Canon, and you'll see lots of these hand cams around about the same values, but only Sony and only particular models have that external mic plug in. Otherwise, you know, you're kind of relying on the microphone within that particular camera, which is not great. We want to use an external mic. So if you're looking for something on this budget, always check to see that it has an external microphone socket. Some other options as well. So all three of the previous cameras output their video using an HDMI socket. Now, if you're wanting to use these cameras to record or stream online, you're going to need a device that converts HDMI, that's the display socket, into USB, so you can plug it into your computer, so you can come in as a source. Now, I use this little box. It's called an Elgato HD60S. It's actually a game capture device. It's around about $300. This is what all the gamers use to show their games on the computer. It's really easy. You plug the camera in one end, and you plug the USB into your computer in the other end, and you get it as a webcam source. So you can then bring it into your studio, and whatever you're using, you can bring it to Zoom, you can bring it to StreamYard, any kind of broadcast or OBS that you're using, and then you'll be able to stream from that. What about GoPros? I haven't used a GoPro. I don't know if it comes with an external source. I think these are kind of bundled in to be able to kind of be on the go. I don't think they either. I don't know if they have an external HDMI cable that comes out. I think it's just a bundled thing that you then take the video out and you process it afterwards. But yeah, thanks for that question, Ian. So you can get dedicated HDMI cards, excuse me, that you can install into your computer, which is going to be better in the long run. But I like this little thing. I can take this with me, you know, and plug my cameras in at meetups and things like that. If you're planning to present yourself online and you're looking for the cheapest way to get that done professionally, the best webcam you can purchase at the moment is this one that I am using. It's the Logitech Brio 4K. It's under $300. It's about $280. So I'm using this one, Brio, just now. It's a good little camera. It handles 4K, no problem. You won't get the crisp sharpness and depth of color that the previous cameras will give you, but it's good for that particular price point. Okay, number 4. So if you're appearing on camera, make sure that you are properly frame yourself in the picture. Ideally, you should be at eye level with the camera. So you don't want to be looking up at an angle, and you don't want to be, you know, if you're broadcasting the computer, you want to be able to see the screen and stuff. Just make sure your eye line is horizontal. If you're using a laptop webcam, you may need to find a box to lift the webcam, the laptop up a little bit, so it's more at eye level. Otherwise, you're going to be kind of peering down at people. And peering on down and up is kind of a little bit of a strange vibe when people are watching it. And nobody really wants to look up your nose, and nobody wants to kind of be looked down at. So always try and position your eyes at level with the camera here. You can try framing yourself in different ways. Try framing your body as a central focus or off to one side. There's something called the rule of thirds, where you position your body in the kind of intersection lines on a 3x3 grid. It works really well with to have like a focal point. And if you've have any other content on screen, such as a presentation on image like I have at the moment, so I am on 1/3 of this 16:9 screen, and then I've got my presentations on the other side there just now. But I can switch between those, so I can just switch here, which then gives me nice and central, and then back over to the rule of thirds. I'm on 1/3 of the screen, and my presentation is on the other side. So I kind of play around with those. You don't need to stick to those rules, obviously, but those are really popular, and visually it represents a nice way for people to look at the content. Framing a talking head. So if you are talking directly into your audience, which I'm doing at the moment, I'm talking to you out there. So a webinar, a how-to video, make sure that your face is properly framed, centering yourself into the screen in whatever position. So I've got my slides, I'm off in 1/3, but I'm still centered in that 1/3 for those. And if I go back to just full me, then I am centered in the middle again. So many people think that your face should be, right in the center of the screen, but it just looks a bit weird. It also looks a bit weird with too much space on the top. So if I was down here like this, it doesn't give a really good impression, and you don't really want to be like full face, into the camera as well. Nobody wants to see that right in there. So having a good position where you've got a little bit of space at the top here, and more space at the bottom, which is useful for lower thirds. So when we talk about lower thirds, let me see if I can just bring this up. So this is a lower third, so where you can present content at the bottom. So that's usually used for name links, for maybe URL links and things like that for those. So you want to have more space at the bottom than you have space at the top for those. So your nose should always be pointing towards the camera. So, if you don't know where to look, try not to look down at the notes. I've got some notes here so I can remember what to say for those, but, try not reading on the notes all the time. Always try and, have your nose and eyes level and looking at the camera, because it's almost as if I'm looking straight at you. And that gives a more welcome reception when people are watching the video back. How about interviewing in person? Shouldn't the interviewee be in the middle of the screen? You can be side by side. It depends whether you want to be on the screen with them or whether you got multiple people. I'm in this broadcast studio called StreamYard, and it gives me different views. So for example, you're looking at the 16:9 width at the moment, where I'm in third, and my slides are over on this side, but I can have different views from here. So if I'm interviewing people, I can actually I can't at the moment because I've only got one webcam source, but I can bring another person on online, up there or up at the top. So you can really mix around where you want to place people for those, but it depends on how you want to be interviewing somebody. If you're doing an interview solo, then yes, you can have them in the middle, but you might want to do several cuts as well, and I'll talk about this later on for those. But maybe you don't want to have somebody talking all the time in this same format with nothing moving, because it's just boring all the time. You want things to move around, so it keeps the attention of your viewers. But yeah, great question. So number 5 is planning and practicing. So make sure that you plan your content before you start filming. There should be a purpose for creating your video to start with, and an end goal. So always try and figure out what your end goal is, and kind of work your way backwards as to what you need to include in your video to meet that goal. So if you're planning to shoot multiple scenes, make sure that they all flow together in some sort of logical sequence. Otherwise, your audience can kind of be a bit jarred if the sequences don't logically follow each other. So while you're talking on camera, try not to read directly from a script all the time. Just have kind of bullet points with notes that, if you get stuck somewhere, you can kind of flick around, oh yeah, that's where I am, and then get back on camera. And always practice. You should get to a point where you know exactly what's coming up. When you don't know what's coming up, that's when ums and ehs start to come in, because your brain is filling out, what to do next until you kind of catch up with where you are. So make sure you practice all your scripts, that you know what's coming next, and it's just going to flow a lot more when you're doing your video production. Stability. So there's nothing worse than a shaky cam. There we go, Blair Witch style. Make sure that you use a really good quality tripod for your camera, or a lockable desk arm, so you get that kind of nice and smooth video content. So I have 3 different sizes of tripods when I am doing my videos. I have a small one that I can put on my desk, so I can use that with my smartphone if I want to do like a vertical shoot. I have a medium-sized one that comes up to about 1 meter, and I have a large 2-meter tripod that I take to conferences and meetings. The large tripod, it has a double leg extension, so I can have a medium one or a large one, but it has a little level bubble with an X and Y, so I can make sure that I get the bubble right in the middle, and I know that the video is horizontal and it's all squared and it's completely level for that. So you might have to invest maybe $50, $60, $70 on that particular type of tripod, but it is useful because there's not a lot you can do if you come back to the desk and you load your video in and now you're all kind of squint like that for those. So yeah, try investing in a good quality tripod. Excuse me. Number 7, if you're making video sequences, don't forget to also shoot some camera pans as well and transitions that you can use to transition your different scenes between. Adding a little bit of movement can bring your videos into the next level for those. So just even changing positions like this, it gives the video, the people who are looking at it, a little bit more a relaxed way to interact. It kind of interrupts the flow, so they're not getting bored all the time with the same scene all the time. Let's talk about B-roll. So B-roll is the secondary footage. A lot of people forget about using B-roll, especially initially when you kind of start out on video making. B-roll is really, really important. So for example, your primary footage is called an A-roll. So if you're interviewing somebody, that would be the person that you're interviewing. But then you might want to have different footage of the event. So you might be interviewing people at the event or up on the balcony shooting some, shots that are going around. And these are the types of shots called a B-roll. So when you're editing your video back in the studio and you've got your primary A-roll, you want to cut in and transition between that different B-roll thing. So having a choice of different sequences can really enhance your video quite a bit. So it's not just as boring with someone there talking to you all the time. You can cut in with different scenes from wherever you are. So if you're out and about, you might want to film some things round about the garden, some things round about the area that you can then snip in when people are talking over as well. And I love this transition at the bottom there with the cat leaping off the ridge and then it jumps into the matrix. It just gives it that different type of viewability. Here's some other B-roll. So you should spend a fair bit of time creating some B-roll footage. This is like a kind of behind the scenes. There's somebody filming about making some coffee. So you can see what they're doing at the top and you can see the result that it has at the bottom. So they're kind of, taking the time to pour a cup of coffee, and then, to roast all the beans and things like that. So, and then they bring that all together in the final production. It just looks fantastic. You get that mix of, somebody doing something and actually seeing it nice and close up. So spend a good amount of time thinking about and creating a little bit of B-roll footage. Just, it's going to help make your videos look a lot more professional in the end run. So let's talk a little bit about transitions. So transitions is when you're going from one scene to another. There's several types of transitions that can really help kind of break up your video. The first one is jump cut. So this is where you are jumping from different scenes and it can really bring the video, it's called an interruption transition, and it just kind of allows the audience to kind of break away and see that something different is moving. This one's called a ripple dissolve. This is a lot of time used for when someone's thinking about something, so you can kind of transition into a memory or a dreamlike sequence. There's the cutaway example. So you got your primary focus, and then you have to focus on something else that might not be too obvious in the background, but you then draw attention to it. There's the cross dissolve, which is kind of similar to the ripple dissolve. It just kind of blends two scenes together. And here's some examples from films. This is a wipe. So wipes are popular for transition again from one scene into another. There's lots of different wipes. There's vertical, there's curtains, there's circles, there's fades, all that sort of thing. And here's the example of a zoom transition. And these are really popular for grabbing attention. So, you know, kind of really bringing that into focus. And it's a good way for you as a producer to kind of really focus in on something. So for example, if you're doing maybe a product video, this is where you want to zoom straight into the main feature of the product. And it just gives that kind of interrupt that people will pay attention to. This one's called a dark in and dark out. It's really popular at the moment, and this allows you to transfer from one scene location to another almost seamlessly. So what you do is you kind of bring the camera straight into an object so it blackens up like that. And then again, you go into your different scene and you have your camera and you bring it back, and it just allows you to transition into different locations really seamlessly. It's a really, really nice trick to use. Okay, video editing software. What can you use to make your videos? I'm obviously broadcasting live here just now, so I'm mixing everything in real time. But if you are taking your videos back into the studio, what do you use? So I use Camtasia for all my stuff. It's a lower cost version. The two big ones are Adobe Premiere Pro. So that's probably the big broadcast quality software studio. There's also one called DaVinci Resolve. And now there is the base application is free, but you need to upgrade if you want the kind of super studio elements on the par with Adobe. Those are the two big players in the market. And there's also iMovie on the iOS. But the one that I use is Camtasia. And I believe that works on Windows PC and Linux, if you're running that sort of stuff. There's an example of the editor window for those. You bring your scenes in, you bring your movie clips, your images in, and then you can bring them down onto a time row for that. So in your timeline, then you can then position your elements, and you've got things like fades and wipes and transitions and animations. So you can make your entire video in that particular editing software. And then once that's done, you then just export it out as a video, and that's you done. So those are some of the options. A lot of people use Adobe Premiere Pro, but it is super expensive. Adobe stuff is. So Camtasia, again, it's not got all the bells and whistles of Adobe Premiere Pro, but that's what I use to make all of my videos, and it is really, really cost effective. Someone's asking about OBS. Yeah, so OBS Studio, it's called Open Broadcast Studio. It is free. It's probably got a really high learning curve. So again, it's like what I'm using at the moment, which is StreamYard, which is you bring different sources in and you mix them all together. So you can stream live using OBS, and you can also record locally. So it's definitely an option. I find that OBS has quite a high learning curve, but there are lots of tutorials online on how to use that. Camtasia, I think, is a good middle ground for that. Yes, you have to pay every year. It's about 50, 60 bucks for those. But I find it really easy to use, and there's lots of tutorials. Corinne is asking, Adobe Premiere Elements, any good? I don't know. I've never used Premiere Elements for those. I know that the elements for Photoshop as well for those, but I've not tried that, so I can't say if that's any good or not. Sorry about that. Okay, we're almost there. Number 8 is backgrounds. So the background for your video is important, and if you're making professional sales and marketing videos, give some thought to what is in the background. You don't want to draw viewers' attention away from the main message or topic that you have. So if your office space isn't ideal for shooting videos, then move to somewhere else. My office is not an ideal setup, as I have these mirrored wardrobes in the background that reflect other parts of the room. So I'll be looking to kind of get some sort of screen up here that kind of blanks that out. But when I shoot a professional scene, I set myself up in my living room or out in my quiet back garden if I want a bit of nature and color in the videos. If you are using a wall or a screen as a background, then make sure you actually step a few bits away from it. A lot of people make the mistake of being right up next to the wall. And that's not good because, you know, you get the shadows, you don't get the good focus for that. So if you are using a wall as a background or a screen, make sure that you're maybe about half a meter away from that. You get the good depth in that. A couple of other questions. OpenShot good? I've not tried that. Sorry, Karen, I've not tried OpenShot. And Howard asks, how about disguising the background with Canva? I'm not sure how you do that on a live broadcast for that. You do have things like green screens where you can superimpose stuff on the background, but unless you're using really good software, green screen green screen, you can kind of still see little bits that fuzz out. So green screen is kind of the next level up in video production. Less is more. If you are presenting any text in a video, make sure that the least amount of words is there that you can make it. You're not writing a book. You don't want people to be, reading screenfuls of writing when you're meant to be the main focus. They want to be able to watch and listen to you. So when I started giving talks and webinars, I cram as many bullet points as possible in as much information on the screen as possible, because I wanted to give my audience, all the information. But I had a seasoned presenter come up to me, and she said to me, she says, there's too much on screen, Will. People are reading on the screen, they're not focusing on you. And that was correct. And it was really, really good and appreciated advice. So less is definitely more when you're mixing text and images with video. What I like to do is find a simple image that kind of represents the main theme that I want to put across. In this example, you've got a little guy on a flower head, so less is more. I just find that having less on screen engages the audience, a little bit more. So try the less is more approach when you're presenting slides and information in those particular types of videos. My last tip is to inject a little bit of personality in your, remember to smile, remember to appear positive and professional on camera, but let a little of you shine through. You don't want to be, stiff and, you're presenting like this and, it looks as if, you're going to be scared about what you're talking about. Make sure some of your own personality shines through. Don't go over the top, don't go, carry on. It's just crazy, but, have a little bit of your own personality on screen. That's going to really shine through. You'll be able to connect with people, just what I like to do is when I'm doing these kind of webinars, I'm imagining that you are right behind the camera and I'm talking to you as I would one-to-one in a room, and it comes across as naturally, and people just love having that sort of attention, that you're kind of looking at them, you're speaking at them directly. Okie dokie, I think that is all. Yep, that's all. So that's my 10 tips for making your videos look more professional, giving them the kind of wow factor that they wouldn't have if you're just kind of, giving a boring old speech. So if you have a look through all those 10 tips, you don't have to implement them all straight away, but I think maybe like the first 3 or 4, have a good look at those. So audio quality is definitely something you want to pay attention to. The video quality as well, from whatever source that you're using, is going to make a ton of difference, and lighting as well. So those 3 things, if you just concentrate on those, you're going to take your video from a meh to a more professional level. And then you can try and address some of those additional tips throughout the presentation that I've given here. If you get any questions, you can drop them in the chat at the moment. I'll have a look and see if there's any ones that I missed. Yeah, so Ian, this is talking about the GoPro camera. So apparently the GoPros do have an external media mod, so you can connect it. Thanks very much for that, Ian. Naomi says that was great. Well, thank you, Naomi, for listening to that. Jesse says, most of my videos are tour related, so walking around. Are phone gimbals great starting points? If not, what are alternatives? So you don't know what a phone gimbal is? A phone gimbal is a little device. It's like on a stick, your camera, and just keeps your camera completely still while you're moving around. I've used a couple of phone gimbals. Some of them were atrocious, and some of them were just outright expensive. If you're moving around a lot and you have the camera with you, then they are a good investment to have. If you're wandering around with your camera, there's no way you can just have it in your hand, and keep it still. There's no way of doing that. Even in your best intentions, your phone's going to jiggle around. So if you are doing a lot of walking around and you are the focus while you're walking, then yeah, I would invest in a gimbal. Otherwise, you're going to end up doing lots of shots where you are still, or you then do lots of B-rolls where you're then filming yourself walking around, and you're mixing that in while you're talking on camera. You're mixing in that B-roll to get that bit of movement going. So that's the alternative for a gimbal, is to shoot lots of B-roll if you moved around, so that you have your still shots that you maybe introduce the talk, and then you fade away to some B-roll of you walking around and doing stuff that you're describing. Great question. Isla says, for product videos, do you think it brings value having scenes with myself talking about the product and then cutting to the product? Yes, absolutely. The more you can mix in, the more natural your videos are going to see. If you're just sitting there talking about your product, and that can get a bit boring. What you want to do is, yes, you're talking about, the benefits of your product and what it can do, but then you want to have some B-roll that actually, is cutting in that shows you what the product is doing. Just pick something off there's a guy mowing his lawn across there. So you might have a product, you might have a lawnmower for that, and you're sitting there, you're talking about the benefits of the lawnmower. It's got an extra battery and stuff like that. Then you want to cut away into, somebody using the battery and then exchanging the battery and then continuing off, doing the mowing and things like that. So yeah, definitely have different cuts that you go into, and it's going to make your videos a lot more dynamic. Is there any way to find a recording of the webinar? Yes, there is. I will just cut away to, let me just bring on, I'll jump back into some of the questions, but just to let you know that next week I'm doing 0 to SEO Hero. So those are SEO tips, if that's something you're looking for. But here's the link. So if you visit willbrown.com SMB, and I'll copy that and put it into the comments, there will be a replay. So once I get all this done and produced, I'll push it up and then have a link. And if you go there, then there'll be a link to all my webinars for there. But let's go back to some of the questions. Any suggestions for a budget dynamic mic? Yes, so the Rode has a dynamic mic, so they don't have to go for this one. There is one down from this. I can't remember what it's called, but it's about $100 for down. But there's lots of ones out there. There's Yeti. So Yeti do a condenser mic like this one, but they also do a studio dynamic mic as well. Yeti's a good brand for those, but I tend to stick with Rode because they are super quality and they're Australian as well. Caramel says, do you suggest videoing for Insta for cooking with the food only? Video for Insta, cooking the food only. So you're talking about, having the phone and stuff in your cooking as a position. Not quite sure what you mean by, do you mean like Instagram? Yeah, is that? I mean, if you're talking about social media, then yeah, video on Instagram, video on YouTube Shorts, they are definitely super popular at the moment. So yeah, definitely if you can do video for that, then do that. Regarding the mics, do you find a better or worse quality if it's Bluetooth, cable, or Wi-Fi? Right, great question. Cable all the way, if you can. If you have the ability to plug something into the cable, and that goes to mics, it goes to networking as well, then always do that. It's always going to be the winner. It's always going to be the fastest speed. Wi-Fi, if you got a good Wi-Fi, that can work. However, as you'll know, some things could affect, like weather can affect the Wi-Fi. You can get an outage. You probably will get an outage, if you're doing live stuff. Bluetooth is okay, but I find that with Bluetooth, definitely the distance and the angle as well come into play. So if you've got a direct line of sight with Bluetooth, so if you've got your little Bluetooth thing here, in your camera, and you've got your lapel in here, if you've got a direct line of sight, that's good. But sometimes if you go off at an angle, the Bluetooth can not be as good for that. So yeah, Bluetooth I just use if you have to. Otherwise, cable's definitely the way to go. Check out Movo. They have double-sided mic that will take dynamic recording from both sides, back and front. So he connects it to his camera. Excellent. Great. I love product examples. Thanks very much for mentioning that. I'm going to have a look at that. So this is where you can go to get the replay, get the slides, and get the links. I'll have that up later today. And yep. Okay. With a seminar like this, you can use Zoom, other platforms to deliver webinars. Yes, there are. There's quite a lot. There's Webinar Kit. This is StreamYard. StreamYard have just recently brought in this webinar feature. for them. So they've got a full broadcast studio for this. Let me just move my mic and see. I wonder if this will work. There we go. So this is StreamYard that I'm using, and I've got little things, camera as a source. Here's my light ring up there. So yeah, StreamYard is one I've been using for a long time. You can use Zoom as well. With Zoom, the webinars is quite costly. I think it's $155 per month for a webinar. So it's not something you probably want to pay if you're not doing webinars every single month. For those, there's a Restream. Restream is like this. It's like StreamYard. It's got a kind of studio, and you can broadcast out to different platforms like LinkedIn, like YouTube, Facebook. So yeah, there's a few different options out there. Let's have a look. Visala says, is there a creative way to not show your face when talking videos for products, or do you need to be the brand? That is a great question. If you are your own brand, if you've got your own personal brand, then yes, you want to be the person that's selling in front. Otherwise, there is no reason why you cannot be off camera. I know lots of people who do lots of videos, presentations and stuff, webinars, and they've never put their face on camera. You don't have to. If you're shy, if you're whatever reason that you don't want to be on camera, then you don't need to. However, if you are running a personal brand, I think it is super important that you want to put your face right out there and be known as that particular brand. So yeah, great question. Anthony says he's shooting all my social videos in portrait on iPhone. He's using a Rode mic that plugs into the lightning connector on iPhone. What are your thoughts? Am I missing much? A better solution? No, I think you've got that spot on. I think when you're starting out, you want to use what you can at hand. You don't want to invest in $4,000 for a camera, if you've not been doing it for 2 or 3 years. Otherwise you've got this great equipment, and you're not using it to its maximum potential. So go with what you know. If you're shooting for social media, so LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, I would always suggest that you try and record in this portrait mode. The reason why is when you're scrolling through a feed, if you've got a video like this, 16:9, you've got your feed coming up here, you're not taking the full length. If you film in portrait mode, you're taking that whole part of the feed up. So everyone's focus is completely on you. They can't see anything above or below. So yeah, if you're shooting for social, make sure that you're doing it in portrait mode. Yeah, great question. Thank you very much. I think I'm going to wrap up. I can't see any more questions coming in. It's just about the top of the hour, so that's worked out really well. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining me on this first webinar on this New South Wales Small Business Month in October. As I say, I've got another 3 webinars coming up, one on SEO, one on digital marketing, and one on WordPress and SEO. So if you're a WordPress user, you can join in on that. What about portrait mode for YouTube? Portrait mode for YouTube Shorts will work, but if you're doing normal YouTube, you want to stick to the 16:9 landscape mode. Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Philip. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Dua. Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Anthony. I am going to sign off for today. Have a great time, and make sure you visit that link later on today or tomorrow to get the replay, to get all the slides, get all those links as well. So thank you very much. See you next time. Bye, everyone.